I am so honored tonight to bring in Michael Pupa back with us again, and his wife Anita, and his daughter Jill, and to share his story, a child survivor of the Holocaust, with deep meaning for all of us as we think about the children, the adults, the Holocaust, what it meant to this world, and the sad things that are still happening in this world. Michael, would you come up?
Yes, of course.
And we're going to be treated to more photos and more of his story. Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, I will.
please? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, in God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is this my turn now? Thank you. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank Elizabeth Nelson. Can you guys hear me? No. Okay. I would like to thank Elizabeth Nelson and the World War II veterans and all other veterans for inviting me here this evening. I would also like to thank my wife Anita and daughter Jill for being here too. My son Mark was unable to attend because he has to work. Elizabeth contacted me after reading an article in the Cleveland Plain Dealer that was published in 2012. I would like to ask you a few questions. How many of you have been to Washington, D.C.? Good. How many of you have been to the National Archives in Washington? Okay. How many of you have been to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C.? Okay. If you have not been to either institution, I would encourage you to do so. The National Archives has many exhibits throughout the year. An exhibit entitled Attachments, Faces and Stories from American Gates ran from June through September 2012. The exhibit profiled 31 people who came to or were denied entry to the United States between the years 1880 and 1951. I was featured in the exhibit and is the only person featured who is still alive. This is the book, by the way, they did publish on the exhibit. I'm the third photo down on the left banner. Okay. Everyone expects to see such items as the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights at the National Archives. I certainly had no idea that the personal documents of me as a 12-year-old boy, including the airline ticket that brought me to this great country in 1951, would be housed at the National Archives. Prior to the exhibit, I had never spoken about my experiences during the Holocaust. How did my story come to be in the exhibit? Some would call it fate. About 4 years ago, my daughter received a phone call from a former colleague, a native Clevelander, Miriam Kleinman. Miriam works in the Public Affairs Department at the United States National Archives, and part of her job is to find individuals connected with documents to be exhibited. She had just left a meeting with the curator of the exhibit, another former Clevelander, named Bruce Bustard, and 3 other people. They were talking about the likelihood of finding a child or grandchild of someone featured in the exhibit. Bruce started with the top file. It was titled January 9, 1951, United Nations International Refugee Organization Court Documents. It was about a boy named Michael Pupa, then an orphan in a displaced person camp in Germany. Miriam asked Bruce to spell the last name. He did. Miriam then asked a Holocaust survivor from Cleveland. Incredulously, Bruce responded, yes. Miriam then replied, I grew up with a Jill Pupa and worked with her in Washington, D.C. I assume she is Michael's daughter. Miriam then called Jill at work to confirm that I was indeed her father. Miriam talked about the attachments exhibit and that I would be profiled in it. I decided to finally start sharing my story and had the opportunity to record my oral history at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. The museum's main objective is to document the atrocities of the Holocaust and use that information to educate others so that such horrors are never repeated again. Today, 2 million people annually visit the museum, of whom only 5% are Jewish. Every immigrant has his own story about how and why he came to the United States. This is my story. I was born in August 1938 in a small village of Maniewicz, Poland. This village of 4,000 people bordered the Ukraine. 1 year later, World War II officially started when Germany invaded Poland on September 2, 1939. In 1942, when I was 4 years old, the Germans invaded my village and rounded up the Jews. Some were executed, including my parents and baby sister. Others were shipped off to concentration camps, and a few others, including me and my uncle, were able to flee into the woods. We hid in the woods for the duration of the war. For a period of time, I believe I lived with a Polish farmer who was a friend of my uncle's. However, the majority of the time, we were in hiding. Upon liberation in 1945, my uncle and I traveled to Berlin, Germany, hidden under furniture in a truck. While some of my memories are hazy for me, I clearly remember Berlin. It was total rubble. Somehow, we connected with the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Administration, known as UNRWA. We were moved to 4 different displaced persons camps over a 5-year period. At one point, my uncle was no longer able to care for me and asked the UNRWA officials for assistance. They placed me in a children's camp called Bad Aibling near Munich, where I lived for approximately 6 months. When I was 12 years old, I was given the option to immigrate to the United States. I was told my uncle would soon follow me. On May 1, 1951, I boarded a plane bound for New York City. I was placed in a children's home operated under the auspices of the United Nations. Because of the large number of refugees already in New York City, I was told to choose another community to live in. My social worker recommended moving to Cleveland, Ohio, because of the job opportunities for my uncle. When in Cleveland, I became the ward of the Jewish Children's Bureau, now known as Balfour JCB. After living in several different foster homes, I was placed in a foster home at age 16 with Ed and Bernice Rosenthal. They and their two biological children, Eileen and Cheryl, accepted me into their lives, and I became part of their family. So much so that I stayed with them until I graduated from John Carroll University. As soon as I was allowed to, I applied for and became a citizen of this great melting pot. For decades, I have said, only in America has afforded me the opportunity to graduate from college, have a family, and own a successful business. Only in America are so many opportunities available to all regardless of race, creed, color, religion, or country of birth. I'm truly grateful and a proud citizen of the United States. Copies of some of these articles are at the desk. Thank you again for having me here this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay. You know, even my daughter, we talked about it, and I have seen a few films and about other people. Somehow they just did it, where you lived in caves, and some people would go out at night and scrounge. That's as much as I remember. And don't forget, a lot of people were also friendly to us at their own peril, because if they were caught feeding us, they were goners. Yes, sir.
Where did you go to high school?
I ended up going to high school at Heights High. And initially, Patrick Henry, I was there for one semester, and they put me in the 9th grade. I was so smart. Of course, I was a little older. I'm sorry. How was I able to go to college when I missed so much time? In other words, I was placed in the 9th grade. For one semester, they sent people who didn't speak English well, like I'm doing just now, to John Hay, and then I was placed in the 9th grade at Patrick Henry. So I was in a normal grade. Education-wise, while I was in Germany, we did get education. Yes, sir.
Did your uncle finally join you?
Yes. My uncle did my... Sorry, I have to repeat that. My uncle did join me shortly, and he lived here, you know. Yeah.
What business was it?
I was in a mortgage business. What business was it? I was in the mortgage business for 35 years.
Were you in any concentration camps at all?
No, was I in a concentration camp? No. Well, we were hiding in the woods. Was there any time that we were being found or caught during that 5-year period in hiding? As I recall, and keep in mind, I remember certain things and not everything. I believe 1 or 2 times that we were running. So I would imagine we were in danger at that point, yes.
Were you with any armed resistance people at all?
No, no. See, this about it. Summer was my uncle, I, and there were a couple of other people, but we were not tied in with anybody. Okay. No, for some reason, I really had no desire to go back. Did you catch that question? Have I been back? No, but my daughter over there, she did try to go back, but at that time it was the Soviet Union, and she was unable to visit the area where I was born. Lady first.
How many people were hiding with you
How many people were hiding in our group? I don't recall. I can't honestly say. There were more than the two of us. There were about 5 or 6, but that's as much as I can recall. Yes, sir.
You said that your parents were executed?
Good question. How did were my parents executed? How did I know about it, and how did we go away? The precise getting away, all I know, we did it. It was done at night. Keep in mind, I was about 4 years old. Somebody had to help us, and we were tipped off somehow. But the execution there was kind of confirmed that they just took out the people and shot them. That was till they found out that bullets were too expensive. Yes, ma'am.
Do you still have family over there that you
No, it's not to my knowledge. No, I don't have any family. As far as I know, the problem for me not knowing so much, it's like I found out even from World War II veterans, or there's some that I knew, they didn't want to talk about it. And in my uncle's case, I said, tell me more, give me some history. Was this next time, another time, and never, let's discuss it. And as I see a gentleman is nodding that veterans have the same problem. Yeah.
How did you survive the winter?
I don't, those are the miracles. How do we do that? But it's been done, and I have seen so many, not a lot of films, but some films about some resistance fighters and all that. Somehow you do it. I don't know how. Like in one case, there was a family I read about. There was a 13-year-old girl who scrounged for the food at night because she was able to get away better than the others. I can't tell you that. I know I'm having trouble now with the winters, but yes, sir.
Was there much of fear of being liberated by the Russians?
Probably no. I wouldn't think so.
So there were a lot of
Well, let me put it this way. As I meant, was there a fear by being liberated by Russians? Not to my knowledge. Let's put it, and let's face it, it had to be better than hiding in the forest and scrounging for food. However, when I mentioned I went to Germany with my uncle in a furniture truck, we were actually, we went to Germany illegally. We had to hide out. Now, what the circumstances were, how my uncle arranged it, that I don't know, but it had to cost some money to be transported from Poland to Germany. Oh, how old was my uncle? 40s? Yeah.
What did he do for a living?
I don't. He said he was. At one point, I gathered he was a teacher, and another point, I gathered he was also in lumber sales. I don't. Yeah, I really. No. Okay. Thank you very much. Oh.
And we give you the traditional Medina mug.
Thank you. And I shall use it well. Thanks again.
It's all about the stories, isn't it? And this story touches me so deeply, and I am so grateful that you come and you're willing to share this with us, because this is not easy.
No.
No.
No, not, no. But there's another thing I want to say. Vote tomorrow.
Oh,
No, this is the attachment. That's the book they published.
the book, Attachments, and we're going to try to get it at the library and see these stories that
That's of the 31 people.
of the people. If you look online to the National Archives, you can see how his banner flew there at the National Archives. Yeah, a remarkable, remarkable story. What are the odds? What are the odds that her friend would be going through the records when you think of the millions and millions and millions of records?
Now I have a question.
Oh, good.
Why didn't I win the lottery?
Oh, the lottery.
How did they miss
Well,
me? Do you realize, although it's a little statistics, the 9 billion items at the National Archives? By this time, probably 10 billion. That's how many, that's how many items they have. Now that includes the Smithsonian and everything else, but
But still, how did Jill's friend
yeah.
find another miracle of this story? So thank you, and you'll be back in March, right?
Come back in March.
Right. Come back in March.
Thanks again. Thank you.